Well, today I have Dr. Tullio Rossi here with me in the Zoom studio, and I really want to thank you for taking the time to talk with our methods-based readers who are, of course, researchers and writers who are struggling with the problems that you've identified in terms of the need to kind of break through all of the information overload and find your readers in a very competitive world where they have lots of other content to consider. So I have a few questions and look forward to hearing what you'll have to share.
Yep. Thank you for having me, Janet. Great to be here.
Okay, so what kinds of responses are you seeing for the video and graphical and visual kinds of abstracts that you've been working on?
Yeah, so we're seeing that overall there's a higher demand for video abstracts, but there are a few exceptions. We have a few researchers out there that consistently want graphical abstracts, and so they looks like they've found a good use for them and good value in that investment of time and resources, and so they consistently produce graphical abstract for the papers. And these researchers, I've noticed, they tend to be very active on social media, especially Twitter. So the first thing that we'll do with a new graphical abstract for the new paper is to share it on Twitter. And this is a really good way to be noticed on social media, because anything that does not include an image, a visual of some sort, it will be really hard to be noticed in the constant chattery of Twitter or other social media. So yeah, graphical abstracts definitely used by those that are social media savvy. And also the other great advantage I see of these graphical abstracts that they're a lot more affordable than video animations. So for example, for the price of one video, you can make 4 or 5 graphical abstracts.
Mm-hmm.
So if the budget is tight and if the researcher is already has a social media presence, we've seen that they tend to prefer graphical abstracts. Video abstracts are, in my opinion, more powerful, and I'm gonna say just in a few moments why I think that's the case.
So in looking at different publishers, both for journals and for books, some seem to be embracing graphical or video, whether it's abstract or kind of ancillary related materials, and others just don't have any kind of place where they can be posted.
Yeah.
So do you see writers posting links to these kinds of materials from their own websites or working with publishers? What kinds of practices are you seeing in that, where the writer and the writer's work kind of meets, the publisher's platform?
Absolutely. So yeah, you're right. Most publishers today are not really equipped to include graphical video abstracts in the article page, especially before the paywall, which is where I think these communication tools should sit. That's where they belong. They're just like the abstract is accessible before the paywall, right. So the video and graphical abstract should be. But yeah, what we're seeing is that most of online journals are still not equipped, but that's not stopping researchers from taking matters in their own hands and getting the most out of these tools. And still we're talking about early adopters, so we're still very early in the the time of video abstracts and graphical abstracts. So we're talking with a few people that get it and they see the value in it. I think over the next 5 years or more, we're really going to see a much larger proportion of researchers embracing these tools, but at the moment it's still a minority. So the top ways in which these tools are used is, well, number one is on media releases, especially for the video. we've seen in many instances that when the researcher includes the media, the video in the media release, the journalist will literally jump on it. And there was a specific example where we saw one of our video abstracts being embedded in the online article. This was a South Australian newspaper. In the online version, the video was even above the title, just talking about the research, so that it doesn't get more predominant than that. So I was like, why? Well, I mean, that's a really prominent positioning, so why do they do that? So I got in touch with the writer of that article, and she said, well, it was because we have to have a video in every online article that goes out. I was like, wow, I didn't know that. But she wasn't able to tell me exactly why. Her boss just told her that that was had to be done. I put the other part of the puzzle together when I talked to people at the Science Media Center, and they told me that the reason why journalists desperately want video today is because it comes down to advertising. So as you know, no one buys the newspaper anymore. Few people actually pay for online subscriptions to newspapers, so they need to rely on advertising. No one clicks on the banner ads anymore, so what's keeping them in business today are video ads. So these are like the kind of videos that you get to watch, for example, on YouTube before or during you're watching a video. So this kind of advertising, it's becoming very, very important for online news. And the result is that if, let's say, a certain journalist one day has to decide, am I writing about this media release or this one? One has the video, one doesn't. Well, they're going to write about the one with video. So if everything else is equal, it gives you an edge. It gives you an edge.
Right. So it sounds like, particularly in getting your work into a more mainstream and popular press, which of course, is a way to reach audiences beyond academia, and that whole, kind of pressure towards having better impact for our research is one of the important things people are thinking about today. So I was particularly interested in one of the points that was made in your blog post that you allowed us to share on MethodSpace was a very clever continuum that you use when assessing the match between the abstract and the target audience, with the public on one end and the experts on the other end. And, I could really relate to that, because I think that, perhaps somewhere in between might be others who are kind of in our same field or in our same, share many interests, but are in different disciplines. So, they might not be, reading the same journals, etc. So what kind of criteria do you use when you're trying to decide which audience fits?
Well, what I do is that I encourage all my clients to consider making the video or graphical abstract as accessible as it can be. So to the broader audience, basically targeting the general public. The reason is because if there is no language barrier, if there is no complicated jargon or complex concept that will make the thing incomprehensible, if it is accessible, you basically expand the potential audience, potential reach and impact of your research exponentially. So I encourage all to consider, well, let's cast the net as broad as we can,
right,
so that we can capture other peers in the same discipline, other scientists from different disciplines who might not read our same journals, but they're out there, for example, on social media, and they might bump into our video graphical abstract and understand it, and then get interested and go and find our paper. Industry partners. could be, imagine someone involved in research and development for a medical device company. They might not be up to scratch with the literature, but they might be, on social media. And again, if they bump into your research, that's how they could discover it. And then the broader public, so journalists, bloggers, and the whole world out there, it's there. If you limit yourself to your peers by making putting lots of jargon and your peer language in your graphical video apps, so you limit yourself. So basically my advice is to go as broad as you can, and it will be well worth the effort. That needs to be said, that there is an effort involved in making it understandable, because it's harder to write it in plain English than it is just to use the same language of the peer-reviewed article. But I think it's a worth investment of time and effort. Absolutely.
Right. So where graphical or video abstracts are included in the actual article. So in the case where the forward-thinking journals, where and you and I have shared some of the examples, and they're in the method space posts. So in those cases where it's kind of part of the publication package, shall we say, of the article or the book chapter, how does this influence the review process? Do you think that peer reviewers are kind of have the awareness or knowledge or skills to be able to assess those elements, the graphic or video elements? Have you had any interaction with people around kind of how to evaluate the scholarly quality of the content or any of that?
Yeah, so it very much comes down to when the graphical or video abstract is made. If it's made at time of submission and it's submitted together with the paper, then it could be reviewed by the reviewers. However, that's not the case in most cases I've seen. Most of the time, the researcher decides to make a video graphical abstract at acceptance. So the paper is already accepted, and they see, all right, now let's invest to get the most out of this and get the most visibility out of this piece of research. And then they say, all right, let's invest this much to make a video graphical abstract. At that point, the video graphical abstract is not peer reviewed, but it should also be said that it always links back to the peer-reviewed source. So it's basically at that point the language and the wording and the messaging, it's a decision of the author, and the peer reviewers would not be involved. For journals that demand graphical abstract, for example, at submission, then it can be peer reviewed. But yeah, it all comes down to when the process starts.
Right. It's probably a whole nother conversation, but I'm really interested in how peer reviewers, can and should be prepared to assess the more complex kinds of visual elements, not only these abstracts as you're describing, but other kinds of media and kind of more dynamic images that we can now do with electronic publications. I think that has a kind of repercussion throughout the whole process of acquisitions and acceptance. That will just be interesting to see how that unfolds over time.
I think it's just a matter of time as these tools become more and more common and adopted more widely. More and more journals will decide, all right, let's make this part of the review process. And so they will demand this graphical or video abstract to be ready at submission, and then for that to be included in the peer review. When that happens, we will have, peer review stamped video abstract and so
Right.
on. At the moment, I think that the vast majority is not.
Right. Right. Okay. Um, so I guess my last question is just, what kind of advice do you have for people today who are writing either academic articles or even book chapters or books in terms of, what are the kinds of things someone should think about, when they're planning a publication project? I mean, I understand that you might not want to invest in creating, some of these kinds of materials until you're, farther along in the process. But, particularly since, as you've described how the video and graphic components make the research much more attractive, what might a researcher be thinking about as they are, kind of going along? Someone who's watching this and is thinking, well, hey, I'm getting ready to start a writing project. What should I do to be prepared for this stage?
Sure. So I invite all researchers out there to think that the publish or perish age is over, because now we've got 7,000 peer-reviewed papers being published every single day. And that's more than we can read. And so the reality is that there's a lot of research out there that unfortunately never gets cited, and some of it even never gets read by anybody. And that's a pity, and it's a waste of researchers' time, and it's a waste of funding money,
Right.
taxpayer money. So what we should do instead is to think about, all right, let's perhaps publish a little less in terms of numbers of papers, but make sure that what we publish has an impact and is noticed. And it's promoted to the best we can, so that we have the highest chance of that to be noticed. And then notice also means citations, so it just makes sense. And so I invite them to think that way and to act ahead of time. And by the way, it doesn't have to cost for example money. A video abstract at the very simplest level could very simply be a bunch of slides narrated in PowerPoint by the author, and that will cost zero.
Right.
So it does. Through our animation science, we produce professional quality animations, but I understand that that's not accessible to everyone out there. But don't think that's what you have to have. Get started. Telling the story of your research, either in a talking head video in front of your webcam or phone, it's just fine. It's better. It's better to have that than nothing. The important thing is to promote and the research, and don't think that, oh, now it's published, I'm done, my job is done.
Right.
No, our publication day is actually the end of one phase and the beginning of another.
Right.
There is the promotion phase of your research, which is, in my opinion, is just as important as the previous phase, because if nobody gets to know about your work, well, what can its impact be? It will be limited.
Right.
So
exactly.
that's the advice I give. So again, for example, for video abstract can be just a talking head video. For graphical abstract, it can be something done in PowerPoint, just like you're able to create a poster. Most researchers, or perhaps all of them, at some point in their careers, had to create a conference poster. Well, a graphical abstract, in a way, it's a miniature conference poster. So they already have the skill set. Let's put that to use after publication to get the most out of it. And then I think we will really see the impact of research going further. Because at the moment that there's so many great stories that are, like, in a way, trapped in these peer-reviewed papers that are so inaccessible to the layperson that they're like treasures that are never uncovered. But if we do this extra step and translate it in a simple terms and expose, present it with visuals that are appealing and grab attention, then we can really make a difference in the world, I think. And so at the end, this will be the benefit of society, because then it means more peer-reviewed research will be in the conversation, circulating around and part of the conversation. So I think that it's a very good thing that overall academic world is embracing these tools. We're still in the very early days, but I see a change happening, and I think it's a very good thing.
Well, I think so too, and I hope that the methods-based readers who view this will find the resources they need to start looking at ways to not only share their research more broadly, but to put it into terms that will invite a broader range of readers. So you can find Dr. Rossi's work at Animate Your Science, and you can also find this additional materials on sagemethodspace.com.
Thank you very much for having me, Janet. It was great.